The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent as the massive doors slid open. Ambassador Marcus Reeves stood tall despite the weight of humanity's fate on his shoulders. Thousands of alien representatives from across the galaxy watched from their elevated platforms, their varied bodies unified in a collective tension. The representatives of Earth will now approach the Judgment Circle, announced High Arbiter Vexlor, his voice echoing through the cavernous space. Marcus stepped forward, flanked by Dr. Eleanor Wright and Commander Jackson Hayes. The three humans looked impossibly small against the towering architecture designed by species far older than mankind. Holographic displays around the chamber showed Earth rotating slowly, beautiful, blue, and seemingly insignificant. Humanity stands accused of unauthorized technological advancement, violation of Development Protocol 447B, and possession of forbidden quantum manipulation technology, Vexlor's voice boomed. The penalty for such transgressions is planetary quarantine for no less than 5,000 cycles. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The insect-like Thoraxian delegation chittered nervously. The crystalline Altarians glowed brighter in apparent agitation. Marcus stepped into the circle of light at the center of the chamber. Every movement was captured by countless recording devices and transmitted across thousands of worlds. High Arbiter, esteemed council members, he began, his voice steady. We came here today under the impression that this was a diplomatic summit, not a trial. Earth was never informed of these supposed regulations. Ignorance is not a defense, Ambassador, hissed Delegate Zyra of the snake-like Ophidian Confederacy. Your species was observed and cataloged 300 cycles ago. The protocols were registered in the Galactic Archive. An archive we were never granted access to, countered Eleanor, stepping forward despite protocol. Her neural implant, hidden beneath her auburn hair, pulsed as it recorded and analyzed every reaction in the chamber. Commander. Hayes subtly tapped his wrist device, a signal to the hidden human vessels positioned outside the council station. What truly concerns this council, rumbled the massive Dracor representative, is not that you developed the technology, but how quickly you did so. Your species advanced from primitive combustion engines to quantum manipulation in less than a century. Such progression is unnatural. Marcus exchanged a glance with his colleagues. Perhaps the council fears what it cannot control, he said, his words carefully measured. The chamber erupted in outraged voices. Vexlor slammed his ceremonial staff, restoring order. You will submit to inspection and regulation or face immediate sanctions, the High Arbiter declared. The Council has voted. Humanity will surrender all quantum technology and accept oversight from the Regulatory Commission. Marcus straightened his shoulders. And if we refuse? Then you leave us no choice but to implement containment protocols. A small smile played at the corner of Marcus's lips. I believe it is the Council that has no choice in this matter. Humanity respectfully declines your judgment. With that, the three representatives turned their backs on the Galactic Council, an unprecedented act of defiance, and began walking toward the exit. Stop them. Vexlor commanded, but the security drone suddenly froze in place. The chamber's lights flickered. As the humans reached the doorway, Marcus turned back. We came hoping for partnership, not subjugation. Perhaps when the Council is ready to treat us as equals, we can discuss terms. Until then, Earth will chart its own course among the stars. The doors sealed behind them, leaving the Council in disarray. Back on their diplomatic vessel, the three humans moved quickly to the command center. Did they take the bait? Eleanor asked, activating her neural interface with the ship's systems. Hayes nodded, reviewing security feeds. Completely. They're scrambling their defense fleet now, exactly as predicted. Marcus settled into the captain's chair. Initiate departure sequence and activate the quantum disruptors. Throughout the Council station, systems began failing in cascading patterns. Navigation, weapons, and communication arrays all reported critical errors simultaneously. Sir, reported the Council's security chief to Vexlor, the human vessel isn't gone. Our sensors can't track it. Impossible, Vexlor hissed. Nothing can escape our detection grid. The humans just did, replied Krell, the ancient archivist who had observed many species rise and fall over his long lifetime. And I suspect they've been capable of doing so for quite some time. Aboard the human ship, now safely hidden behind an experimental quantum field that rendered them effectively invisible to Council technology, Marcus reviewed their next steps. How long until they restore communications? He asked. Approximately 6 hours, Eleanor replied. The virus I uploaded through my neural link will keep their systems compromised just long enough for our fleet to reach the designated coordinates. And Earth's defenses? Fully activated, Hayes confirmed. The moment we walked out, Protocol Umbra went into effect. Every major population center is now protected by quantum shields. Our stealth fleet has deployed to all strategic positions within Council space. Marcus nodded, satisfaction evident in his tired eyes. Then we've succeeded. The Council wanted to see us as primitive newcomers they could control. Instead, they've forced our hand. Do you think they'll retaliate? Eleanor asked, concern edging her voice. They'll try, Marcus replied. But first, they'll need to understand what just happened. And by the time they do, Hayes completed the thought, we'll have changed the rules of the game. On the Council station, emergency systems finally engaged, restoring minimal functionality. Vexilor called his inner circle to a secure chamber, one of the few rooms not compromised by the human virus. How did they do this? Demanded Admiral Thorne of the Hegemony Defense Forces. Their technological level was assessed as barely interstellar. Krell, who had been granted attendance due to his historical knowledge, spoke quietly. I warned the Council 3 decades ago. Humans advance differently than other species. They thrive under pressure. They innovate when threatened. And we just threatened their entire planet, Vexilor realized, the implications becoming clear. Worse, Krell said. We revealed our fear of them. Now they know their rapid advancement frightens us. We have shown our weakness. As the Council leaders argued about next steps, human ships across the galaxy were already executing a carefully planned strategic repositioning that had been in development for years, waiting only for the trigger event. That the Council had unwittingly provided. The humans hadn't just walked out. They had sprung a trap centuries in the making, and the Council had no idea what was coming next. The Council's emergency session dissolved into chaos. Communication systems throughout the station experienced unexplained failures. Reports flooded in from member worlds about human diplomatic vessels simply vanishing from monitored space. Admiral Thorne of the Hegemony Defense Forces slammed his appendage onto the table. The humans should never have been allowed to leave. Their ships must be intercepted immediately. High Arbiter Vexilor's usual composure had cracked. Our long-range sensors are being blocked by an unknown field. We've lost track of their diplomatic vessel. Delegate Ashara of the Luminary Collective, one of the few who had advocated for peaceful integration with humans, rose from her seat. Her bioluminescent patterns pulsed with concern. What if we've made a terrible mistake? We summoned them under pretense of welcome, then ambushed them with accusations and threats. The mistake was underestimating them, said Krell, the ancient representative of the archivists. For centuries he had warned the Council about humanity's potential. I've studied their history. Humans thrive when cornered. They unite against external threats, and we have just positioned ourselves as exactly that. On the main display, footage from the human departure played. Security analysts scrutinized every frame, searching for clues. There, pointed Krell. The female human, Dr. Wright. Watch her neural patterns during the exchange. The footage zoomed in, enhanced by Council tech. Subtle energy signatures emanated from beneath her hairline, a complex network of quantum processing that had completely evaded their security scans. Impossible, whispered Vexilor. Our sensors would have detected such technology, unless, Krell theorized. They've developed methods beyond our current understanding. A junior aide rushed into the chamber, trembling. Exalted ones, we've discovered something in the archives. The humans, they've been here before. The chamber fell silent. Explain, demanded Vexilor. Ancient records, sealed by order of a previous council. Humans were not just observed 300 cycles ago. They were contacted. There was an agreement then. Nothing. All further records were classified at the highest level. Krell's ancient eyes narrowed. Access the sealed records now. After tense moments, the central hologram flickered to life, displaying text in an archaic council script. As the translation filtered through, gasps echoed through the chamber. The document was a treaty, signed by Earth representatives and the Council, dating back nearly 1,000 years. It detailed mutual non-interference and recognition of Earth's sovereign development rights. The Council had violated its own ancient agreement. We are not the first council to fear them, Ishara realized, but perhaps the first foolish enough to provoke them. Alarms blared throughout the station. The security chief's voice crackled over the comms. Multiple unidentified vessels have appeared in council space. They match no known configuration. On the tactical display, dozens of ships materialized simultaneously across council territory, near key outposts, warp gates, and strategic resources. They were prepared for this, Admiral Thorne said grimly. This wasn't an impulsive walkout. It was the trigger for a coordinated operation. Vexilor's voice dropped to a whisper. What have we done? Across the galaxy, on board the human stealth carrier Defiance, Commander Hayes monitored the unfolding situation. Reports streamed in from their hidden vessels now revealed throughout council space. All ships in position, his tactical officer confirmed. No aggressive moves from council forces yet. They appear to be in defensive posture only. Hayes nodded. Good, maintain surveillance protocols. Remember, we're not here to start a war, just to ensure they can't start one with us. In a secure bunker beneath Earth's North American continent, Global Defense Director Amara Okafor addressed the United Earth Council. Holographic displays showed the positions of human and council forces across the galaxy. Phase 1 is complete, she reported. The Council has discovered the ancient treaty as we intended. Their violation gives us legal standing within their own system of laws. And the Sentinel Protocol? Asked President Wilson. Dr. Wright is en route to the Bastion of Remembrance to recover the primary activation key. Ambassador Reeves has infiltrated the Council mining colony, where the secondary key is hidden. If all goes according to plan, we'll have both within 48 hours. The President's face was grim. The Council won't stand idle while we activate a 1,000-year-old defense system they've tried to bury and forget. No, they won't, Amara agreed. That's why we needed our ships in position first. Meanwhile, Dr. Eleanor Wright's stealth shuttle approached an apparently abandoned space station at the edge of Council territory. Ancient and damaged, it had been deliberately forgotten, erased from most star charts and official records. As she guided her craft into a deteriorating docking bay, her neural implants scanned the structure, mapping safe pathways through the debris. I've reached the Bastion, she reported through the quantum-entangled communication link, beginning infiltration now. The station's interior was dark, preserved only by the vacuum of space. Eleanor moved carefully through corridors that hadn't felt a footstep in centuries. Her specialized suit protected her from the environmental hazards while her neural implants guided her deeper into the structure. Finally, she reached a sealed chamber at the heart of the station. Ancient glyphs covered the door, the same language found in Earth's oldest archaeological sites. Using her neural interface, she translated and activated the opening sequence. The chamber beyond held a single pedestal. Upon it rested a crystalline device that pulsed with faint blue energy despite its age. I found the primary key, she reported. It's still active after all this time. Back in Council space, Admiral Thorne led a battle group toward the coordinates where one of the human vessels had appeared. His orders were to attempt communication first, but to disable the ship if the humans refused to stand down. Sir, his tactical officer reported, we're picking up unusual energy readings from the human vessel. Before Thorne could respond, every system on his flagship simultaneously shut down. Emergency power activated seconds later, but weapons, shields, and propulsion remained offline. A communication channel opened automatically. Commander Hayes's face appeared on the main viewer. Admiral Thorne, he said calmly, please don't be alarmed. Your ship's systems will reactivate fully in approximately 10 minutes. This is simply a demonstration. A demonstration of what? Thorne demanded. That we could have disabled your entire fleet at any time during the past century, Hayes replied. But we chose not to. We're not your enemy, Admiral. We never were. Then what is the meaning of this display of force? Insurance, Hayes explained. To ensure the Council listens to what we're about to reveal. Something was hidden from both our peoples, something that threatens us all. The Council's predecessors knew this. That's why they signed the treaty with Earth. Thorne's expression remained skeptical. What threat could possibly? His words were cut off as a priority alert sounded from the few still functioning sensors. A massive energy surge had been detected at the edge of charted space. a quantum signature that matched no known species. Hayes's expression was grim. That, Admiral, is what we've been preparing for. The threat your council chose to forget, but humanity remembered. Across council space, ancient defense installations that had been classified as historical monuments suddenly activated, responding to Eleanor's recovered key. A network that had lain dormant for a millennium began to awaken. The humans hadn't just walked out of the council chamber, they had set in motion the reactivation of the galaxy's oldest defense system, just in time for the return of a threat the council had foolishly chosen to forget. Admiral Thorne's flagship, the Indomitable, led a battle group toward the human diplomatic vessel's last known coordinates. His orders were clear: intercept and detain the Earth representatives without causing harm, a delicate operation given the political sensitivity. On the bridge, Tactical Officer Keeval reported, "No sign of the human vessel, Admiral, but we're detecting unusual quantum fluctuations in Sector 7. Approach with caution," Thorne ordered. "All weapon systems on standby only." As the battle group adjusted course, an ensign called out, "Admiral, our navigation systems are recalibrating without authorization." Before Thorne could respond, the ship's quantum communication array activated independently. A holographic projection materialized on the bridge. Commander Hayes of the Earth delegation. "Admiral Thorne," Hayes said calmly, "I would advise against your current course of action." Thorne maintained his composure despite the security breach. "How did you access our secure systems?" "That's not the question you should be asking," Hayes replied. "You should be wondering why the Council never told you about the Sentinel Protocol." Thorne hesitated. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Of course you don't. The Council has compartmentalized information for centuries. The Sentinel Protocol was established after our first contact, a failsafe we developed together against a threat your current Council seems to have forgotten. On Earth, the situation was equally tense. Global Defense Director Amara Okafor stood in the Quantum Command Center beneath Mount Rainier, surrounded by holographic displays of Council space. "All stealth observers report ready," her Chief of Operations confirmed. "The Umbra network is fully deployed." Amara nodded. "And our emergency evacuation protocols? Colony ships are prepared for immediate departure if necessary. The Jupiter and Mars settlements have activated their defensive shields." "The Lunar Gateway is on high alert," a communications officer interrupted. "Director, we're receiving a transmission from the Archivist's representative. He's requesting to speak with you directly, outside official Council channels." Amara raised an eyebrow. "The Archivists are breaking protocol? That's unexpected. Put him through, secure line." Krell's ancient face appeared on the screen. "Director Okafor, I speak unofficially and with great urgency." "I'm listening," Amara replied cautiously. "The Council has made a grave error, but there are those among us who remember the old agreements and the reason for them. The threat that brought humans and the Council together a millennium ago is returning. The quantum disturbances your people have detected are not isolated phenomena." Amara's expression hardened. "The Void Heralds," Krell looked shocked. "You know of them?" "Unlike your Council, we didn't purge our historical records. We've been preparing for their return since our ancestors first encountered them. That's the real reason for our alarming technological advancement." Meanwhile, in deep space, Dr. Eleanor Wright's shuttle approached a location known in human records as the First Confluence. Her neural implants interfaced directly with the ship's systems as she navigated through a debris field that had once been a mighty battle station. "Marcus, I've reached the coordinates," she communicated through their quantum-entangled link. "Beginning scan for the codex fragments." On a distant Council mining colony, Marcus Reeves moved through the crowded streets undetected, his appearance altered by adaptive camouflage technology. He approached a nondescript building that, according to ancient Earth records, contained one of 7 keys needed to reactivate the Sentinel network, a defensive system jointly built by humans and the Council's predecessors. "The Council doesn't just fear our advancement," Marcus subvocalized to his team. "They fear what we remember, what they chose to forget." Back in Council space, Admiral Thorne's flagship suddenly lost power, then rebooted with all weapon systems offline. "What just happened?" Thorne demanded. His tactical officer stared at her console in disbelief. "Sir, something accessed our central systems and..." Rewrote our operational protocols. We can't target any vessel identified as human origin. Hayes's hologram smiled slightly. A precaution, Admiral. We prefer to avoid unnecessary conflict while we address the greater threat. I suggest you return to Council headquarters. They're about to need every ship they can muster. As the hologram faded, Thorne received an urgent message from Council security. Massive energy signatures were detected at the edge of charted space, signatures matching ancient records of the Void Herald's world-destroying vessels. In the Council emergency chamber, Vexlor struggled to maintain order as representatives from hundreds of worlds demanded explanations and action. The human presence throughout our territory is an act of aggression, shouted the Thoraxian delegate. We must respond with force. Our weapons are ineffective against their technology, countered Admiral Thorne, who had returned to report his encounter. And now these energy signatures at the border are the reason humans have been preparing all along, interrupted Krell, entering the chamber with data crystals in hand. I've accessed the complete sealed archives. The truth can no longer be hidden. He inserted the crystals into the central console. The chamber's displays filled with ancient recordings, footage of a devastating attack on Council worlds from 1,000 years ago. Dark asymmetrical ships moved through defensive lines as if they weren't there, using weapons that twisted the fabric of space-time itself. The Void Heralds, Krell explained, a species from the dark spaces between galaxies. They don't invade, they harvest. Entire civilizations wiped out, their quantum essence absorbed to fuel the Herald's existence. The recording showed desperate battles, worlds falling one after another, until a new fleet arrived. Human vessels, primitive by current standards but numerous and unpredictable, joined the fight alongside Council defenders. 1,000 years ago, humanity was still in its early development, Krell continued, but even then they displayed remarkable adaptability. They discovered weaknesses in Herald technology that our own scientists missed. Together, we drove the Heralds back. The final footage showed representatives from Earth and the Council, activating a massive defensive network, the Sentinel. Protocol, creating a quantum barrier that sealed the Heralds out of the galaxy. After the victory, the Council of that era made a decision, Krell said, his voice heavy with judgment. They believed the knowledge of the Heralds was too dangerous, that it might attract their attention again. So they purged the records, dismantled the defense network, and erased the memory of the threat from our collective consciousness. But they couldn't erase it from Earth, Vexlor realized, because Earth wasn't under their jurisdiction. Exactly, Krell confirmed. The treaty guaranteed Earth's independence. While we forgot, they remembered. And they prepared. Alarms sounded throughout the station. The tactical display showed the Herald energy signatures growing stronger, moving toward populated systems. The Void Heralds are returning, Krell announced unnecessarily, and humanity has been positioning assets throughout our space not to attack us, but to reactivate the Sentinel protocol. Vexlor looked around at the representatives, seeing fear replace anger in their eyes. Then we have no choice but to set aside our pride, Krell finished for him, and acknowledge that humanity's alarming advancement may be the only thing standing between our civilization and extinction. In deep space, Eleanor successfully recovered the codex fragments from the ancient battlefield. As she prepared to integrate them with the primary key, her neural link with Marcus activated. I've secured the secondary key, he reported. Extraction in progress. Any resistance? She asked. Minimal. Most of the Council forces are being redirected to face the Herald incursion. Eleanor's face was grim as she examined the codex data. Marcus, the Heralds, they're stronger than before. The original Sentinel protocol may not be enough. That's why we have Plan Omega, Marcus replied. Director Okafor is already implementing the first phase. The Council just needs to stay out of our way long enough for us to save them. Back on the Council station, Vexlor made the most difficult decision of his long career. He opened a direct channel to Director Okafor on Earth. On behalf of the Galactic Council, he said formally, I request Earth's assistance against the Void Herald threat. We acknowledge our error in judgment regarding your species. Amara's expression remained neutral. The time for apologies will come later, Arbiter Vexlor. For now, we have a galaxy to save. Across Council space, human vessels moved into formation around the ancient defense nodes. The quantum lattice between them strengthened, as they channeled power into the dormant systems. The Sentinel Protocol was awakening, and the Void Heralds would soon discover that the species they had once nearly conquered was not the same one waiting for them now. High Arbiter Vexilor stood before the full emergency session of the Galactic Council, his authority crumbling as the crisis deepened. Representatives from 200 worlds demanded answers. The human vessels have taken no aggressive action, Vexilor admitted. They have positioned themselves near our key defensive installations, but their weapons remain inactive. Then what is their purpose? Demanded the Thoraxian delegate. Before Vexilor could respond, the chamber's security protocols were bypassed. Every display simultaneously activated, showing the same image. Dr. Eleanor Wright, standing amid ancient ruins that many counselors recognized with shock. Honorable representatives of the Galactic Council, she began, I'm transmitting from what your ancestors called the Bastion of Remembrance. 1,042 years ago, representatives from Earth stood with your predecessors in this very location to forge an alliance against the greatest threat our galaxy has ever faced. The chamber erupted in confusion. Eleanor continued undeterred. Your council has systematically erased this history. You believed that by forgetting the Void Heralds you could prevent their return, a superstition that replaced sound strategy. But Earth remembered. We kept our vigil while you dismantled the very defenses designed to protect us all. She held up an ancient artifact, a crystalline key pulsing with energy. The Sentinel Protocol was our mutual creation. 7 keys, 7 species, 7 technologies combined into one defense system. Humans were entrusted with maintaining the knowledge while the Council maintained the network. We have upheld our end for a millennium. On a distant Council fortress world, Marcus Reeves infiltrated the most secure vault in the facility. Inside, he found what Earth's oldest records described: a quantum resonator, one of the 7 components of the Sentinel Protocol. As he activated his scanner, he discovered something unexpected. The device had been deliberately sabotaged. He opened a secure channel. Eleanor, the resonator has been disabled. This wasn't neglect. It was intentional. In the council chamber, Eleanor received Marcus's message through their neural link. Her expression hardened. We've just confirmed that key components of the defense system were intentionally disabled. This wasn't mere negligence. Someone within the council hierarchy deliberately undermined our collective security. The accusation sent shockwaves through the assembly. Vexilor looked genuinely stunned. That's impossible, he protested. No one would. Someone did, interrupted Krell, rising from his seat. The ancient archivist approached the center of the chamber. And I believe I know who. He activated his personal data terminal, bypassing council security to project classified records. 300 years ago, a splinter faction called the Ascendancy emerged within the council leadership. They advocated for a radical approach to the Void Herald threat, not to fight them but to appease them. They believed sacrifice of certain worlds could spare others. Images appeared showing council records with key sections redacted or altered. The Ascendancy feared human advancement because humans were the most committed to fighting the Heralds. The records of our alliance weren't just sealed, they were systematically corrupted to paint humanity as a potential threat rather than our most important ally. Commander Hayes' voice joined the transmission from his position aboard the human flagship Defiance. While you've been debating our containment, we've been monitoring deep space. The Void Heralds aren't coming, they're already here. The chamber's main display shifted to show strategic maps of the galaxy. Dark anomalies were spreading through multiple sectors, quantum disruptions that matched the ancient descriptions of Herald. Incursions. The vessels we've positioned throughout Council space aren't an invasion force, Hayes explained. They're the first line of a defense network we've been building for generations. Each contains components designed to reactivate and enhance the original Sentinel Protocol. In deep space, Eleanor activated the ancient key. Across 27 Council worlds, dormant structures buried beneath the surface began to hum with renewed energy. The human vessels positioned throughout Council territory simultaneously released swarms of quantum probes that began forming an intricate lattice between the ancient defensive sites. We don't have time for recriminations or politics, Eleanor addressed the Council. The Heralds will reach populated systems within days. The choice before you is simple. Continue to view us as a threat to be contained or stand with us against annihilation. Admiral Thorne, who had returned to the council station, stepped forward. I've seen what their technology can do. If they wanted to attack us, we would already have fallen. I recommend we accept their assistance immediately. Vexlor looked around the chamber, seeing the shifting consensus. With visible difficulty, he spoke the words that would change the course of galactic history. The Council acknowledges its error in judgment. We formally request Earth's assistance against the Void Herald threat. On Earth, Director Okafor received the Council's message with grim satisfaction. Initiate Phase 2, she ordered. Deploy the Lazarus contingency. Across the solar system, massive installations that had been disguised as research stations or mining operations revealed their true nature. They were components of humanity's ultimate defensive weapon, developed in secret over centuries. On the Council mining world, Marcus worked quickly to repair the sabotaged resonator. As he reconnected the final circuits, he detected movement behind him. He spun around to face Delegate Zira of the Ophidian Confederacy. I'm impressed you found this place human, she hissed, her reptilian body coiled in preparation to strike. The Ascendancy has kept it hidden for centuries. So you're part of them, Marcus said, carefully positioning himself between Zira and the resonator. Why help the Heralds? They'll destroy you too. Not if we offer them what they truly want, Zira replied. The Heralds don't want territory. They want quantum energy, specifically the unique energy signature produced by intelligent life. The Ascendancy's arrangement is simple. We direct them to certain worlds and our core systems are spared. And you thought humanity would be a perfect sacrifice, Marcus realized. That's why the Council was so eager to contain us. Your rapid advancement made you the ideal target, Zira confirmed. A rich source of the energy the Heralds crave, and politically isolated enough that few would protest your loss. There's just one problem with your plan, Marcus said, a slight smile forming. Humans don't make good sacrifices. We tend to fight back. He pressed a concealed button on his wrist device. The repaired resonator pulsed with energy, connecting to the growing Sentinel network. Zira lunged forward but found herself frozen in place by a containment field that had silently activated. That will hold until Council security arrives, Marcus told her. I've transmitted our entire conversation to both Earth Command and Arbiter Vexlor. The Ascendancy's cover is blown. Throughout Council space, security forces moved against identified Ascendancy members. Decades of conspiracy unraveled in hours as sealed communications were exposed and hidden installations discovered. On the frontier of Council territory, the first Herald vessels encountered the reactivated Sentinel protocol. Ancient defensive platforms enhanced by modern human technology created overlapping quantum fields designed to disrupt the Herald's phase-shifting capabilities. For the first time in centuries, the Void Heralds faced resistance. On the Council station, representatives watched in awe as the tactical displays showed the defensive network engaging the enemy. Herald ships that had once moved through conventional defenses like ghosts now found themselves vulnerable to coordinated attacks. The Sentinel protocol is working, Krell observed, but the Heralds have evolved since our last encounter. They're adapting to the quantum fields. He was right. On the displays, several Herald vessels managed to slip through the defensive grid. Heading toward populated systems, Commander Hayes's voice came through on all channels. This is why we developed the Lazarus contingency. All Council vessels clear the following coordinates immediately. Across the galaxy, massive structures concealed within Earth's solar system activated simultaneously. They generated precisely calibrated wormholes at the designated coordinates, directly in the path of the advancing Herald ships. As the Herald vessels entered these distortions, they encountered something unexpected: concentrated quantum energy of a specific frequency, one that resonated destructively with their own energy signatures. The lead Herald ships began to break apart, their exotic matter dissolving as the carefully tuned quantum fields disrupted the very forces holding them together. In the Council chamber, a moment of stunned silence was followed by cheers from many representatives. Victory seemed within reach, until the main tactical display showed a new development. The remaining Herald vessels were retreating, regrouping at the edge of the galaxy. They're adapting faster than expected, Eleanor reported, her face grave on the communication screens. and they're calling for reinforcements. Our sensors detect massive quantum disturbances in the intergalactic void. Vexilor turned to Krell. Is there no way to strengthen the Sentinel protocol? The old archivist looked thoughtful. Perhaps. The original design included a final component, one deemed too dangerous to implement. The quantum nexus. The what? Asked Admiral Thorne. The observation deck of the Council station offered a panoramic view of the spectacle unfolding in space. Representatives from hundreds of worlds watched in awe as the human-led defensive network activated fully for the first time in a millennium. Ancient. Structures on Council worlds, long thought to be mere historical, monuments pulsed with renewed energy. The quantum lattice created by human vessels formed connections between these nodes, creating a vast defensive grid. High Arbiter Vexilor stood beside Marcus Reeves, their previous animosity set aside in the face of existential threat. Your people never stopped preparing, Vexilor observed. Even when we forgot, even when we turned against you. Humanity has a long memory for both friends and enemies, Marcus replied, and an even longer memory for existential threats. The first wave of Void Herald vessels emerged from quantum space near the Herculean cluster, dark, asymmetrical ships that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Council defensive fleets moved to intercept, but their weapons passed harmlessly through the Herald vessels. Their phase-shifting technology has advanced, Admiral Thorne reported grimly. Our conventional weapons are ineffective. On the command deck of the Defiance, Commander Hayes activated the communication array. All human vessels initiate Prometheus Protocol. Authorization Hayes Epsilon 7. Throughout Council space, the human ships synchronized their quantum generators. The lattice between them glowed brighter as they channeled immense energy into the ancient defense nodes. Dr. Eleanor Wright, now aboard the Bastion of Remembrance, worked feverishly to recalibrate the ancient systems. The original Sentinel protocol was designed to counter Herald technology as it existed 1,000 years ago, she explained to Krell, who had joined her effort. We need to adapt it to their current capabilities. Her neural implants interfaced directly with the Bastion's systems, processing complex calculations at superhuman speed. There, she said finally. Uploading the recalibration to all nodes now. Across the network, the ancient defenses adjusted their parameters. As the Herald vessels approached the Herculean cluster, they encountered an invisible barrier, a quantum field that forced them back into phase alignment with normal space, rendering them vulnerable to conventional weapons. The Council's defense fleet, led by Admiral Thorne, launched a coordinated assault. For the first time, their weapons found purchase against the Herald ships. On Earth, Director Okafor stood in the Quantum Command Center, monitoring the battle. Activate the Lazarus Array, she ordered. Target the Herald command vessel. Beneath the lunar surface, a massive cannon powered by Earth's most advanced quantum technology fired a concentrated beam of energy that traveled through artificially generated wormholes, bypassing normal space to strike at the heart of the Herald fleet. The lead vessel, twice the size of any Council dreadnought, shuddered as the beam penetrated its defenses. For a moment, it seemed the attack had failed. Then the vessel began to collapse in on itself, trapped in a localized quantum singularity. By the first ancestors, whispered Vexilor, watching the display. What have your people created? What we had to, Marcus answered simply. This is what advancement looks like when extinction is the alternative. As the battle raged, Krell discovered disturbing evidence in the Bastion's archives. The Heralds aren't just returning, he told Eleanor. They were invited back. Together they uncovered communications between the Ascendancy faction and Herald scouts dating back decades. Certain Council members had struck a deal. They would disable the Sentinel network and contain humanity in exchange for their worlds being spared in the coming invasion. We need to expose this now, Eleanor insisted. The Council needs to know who really betrayed them. The evidence was transmitted to the Council station, where Marcus presented it to the assembled representatives. Names of high-ranking officials, including 2 of Vexilor's most trusted advisors, were revealed as Ascendancy agents. These individuals didn't just betray humanity, Marcus declared. They betrayed every sentient being in our galaxy. As security forces moved to detain the exposed traitors, the battle in space reached its climax. The combined human and council fleets, supported by the reactivated Sentinel network, drove the Herald forces back. The quantum singularity created by Earth's Lazarus Array expanded, consuming more Herald vessels. In a desperate move, the remaining Heralds concentrated their attack on the Bastion of Remembrance, recognizing it as a key node in the defensive network. "They're targeting the Bastion's power core," Eleanor warned. "If it destabilizes, the entire network will fail." With minutes to spare, she initiated an emergency protocol, linking her neural implants directly to the core's containment system, using her own mind as a processing node to maintain stability. "Eleanor, what are you doing?" Hayes demanded over the comm. "The neural feedback could kill you." "Then find me a replacement quickly," she replied through gritted teeth. "Because right now I'm the only thing keeping the Heralds from breaking through." As Eleanor held the system together through sheer will, Council and human forces converged on the Bastion. In a historic moment, Admiral Thorne's flagship fought alongside human vessels to protect the ancient structure. The combined firepower was enough to destroy the remaining Herald attackers. As the last enemy ship fell, Eleanor collapsed, the neural strain nearly fatal. Council medical experts and human scientists worked together to stabilize her condition. 3 days later, the Galactic Council convened for a historic session. The chamber had been rearranged, the hierarchical tiers replaced by a circular arrangement where all representatives sat as equals. High Arbiter Vexlor, humbled by recent events, addressed the assembly. For centuries, this council has prided itself on wisdom and foresight. Recent events have proven our arrogance. In fear of human advancement, we nearly doomed ourselves to extinction. Marcus Reeves took the floor next. Humanity walked out of this chamber when faced with subjugation. Today we walk back in, not as supplicants, but as partners. The Void Heralds have been repelled, but not defeated. They will return, stronger and more determined. He gestured to Eleanor, now recovered and seated with the human delegation. Dr. Wright has proposed a new protocol, not just for defense, but for cooperation. A joining of human innovation with council wisdom and resources. Krell, now elevated to senior archivist after exposing the Ascendancy conspiracy, spoke in support. "We must preserve the knowledge of both our peoples. Together we must remember so that we need never fear again." The motion to establish a new compact between Earth and the Council passed with overwhelming support. The era of suspicion was over, replaced by a newfound respect forged in crisis. As the session concluded, Eleanor approached Vexlor privately. "There's something you should know," she said. "The quantum readings we took during the battle revealed something unexpected about the Heralds." "What did you find?" Vexlor asked. "They're not invaders from another galaxy as we always believed. The quantum signatures match our own. They're from our future. A possible future we create ourselves through conflict and division." Vexlor absorbed this revelation with shock. I mean the greatest threat we face has always been ourselves," Eleanor confirmed. "Which makes our new alliance more important than ever." As the human delegation prepared to return to Earth, they carried with them not just a treaty, but a profound realization. The day humans walked out of the council chamber wasn't the beginning of conflict. It was the first step toward saving the galaxy from itself. On the observation deck of the human flagship Defiance, Marcus and Eleanor stood side by side watching the stars. "Do you think the council learned its lesson?" Eleanor asked. "About fearing advancement?" "I think they've started to," Marcus replied. "Fear of progress nearly destroyed us all. The Ascendancy betrayed the galaxy because they were afraid of change, afraid of humanity's potential. And now we show them what that potential can accomplish when it's embraced rather than contained." Below them, in the ship's engineering bay, human and council scientists worked together on the prototype quantum nexus, the device that would eventually create a permanent barrier against the Heralds. The technology combined ancient council wisdom with human innovation in ways neither species could have achieved alone. Commander Hayes joined them on the observation deck. "Earth Defense Command reports that all Sentinel nodes are fully operational. The Heralds won't catch us unprepared again." "No," Eleanor agreed, her neural implants glowing softly beneath her skin. "But there's still so much work to do." As the Defiance prepared to jump to Earth, Vexlor's voice came through on the communication array. "Ambassador Reeves, the Council has officially rescinded all containment protocols against Earth. Your people are now recognized as full partners in galactic security. Marcus smiled slightly. Better late than never, Arbiter. Indeed, Vexlor replied, a hint of humility in his voice. When you walked out of our chamber, you showed us something we had forgotten, that true strength lies not in control but in cooperation. The Council panicked too late to prevent the crisis, but perhaps not too late to forge a better future. As the ship entered quantum space, Eleanor's final thought echoed what many across the galaxy now realized. Sometimes, walking away from the table was the only way to change the game.